Actually, sorry, there's one more thing that would give you bonus points is modify this prompt to make another stock trading strategy, right? So we could say, for example, I could say switch this to use, I don't know, QQQ instead, right? And it'll switch it over. Okay, so here I told it switch this to use QQQ instead. So basically switching the stock. And you can see here now it's thinking about different stuff. My action plan, updating the asset. So the user wants to swap it out, blah, blah, blah. We're just going to call refine strategy, which is what it's doing here. And it's going to give me that new result. So that would have been how you'd complete your homework in total. And then once you do this, you could also ask it to run another back test, and you can kind of keep going down that path as well. All right. Let's refine the strategy and give it a few more seconds. We'll see the result. And you'll see, because I want to show you guys how this turns into like a version 2, and you can actually switch versions, right? You see here that's even calling the tool, it's switched to version 2. And if you actually go in here, you'll see version 2. Version 1 was the original one we made. Version 2 is this new one. That's under strategy details, and under code, you have the ability to switch versions. So a lot of people, when they go through building strategies, they'll see that there's multiple versions getting created. So keep that in mind as you're doing this stuff here, right? Version 2 is going to do different things than version 1. And it even says here, what changed in this revision? Swap the target asset from TQQQ to QQQ, right? So it explains exactly what changed, right? And you can actually do that for each version. I can switch back to version 1. Or I can switch to version 2. We can see exactly how all that stuff's working, right? And that's a pretty important thing, knowing about versions, because some people, when they go through this, I've seen some people go to like 100 versions, right? They're like editing a strategy, making changes. Getting to 100 versions is not that crazy. So understanding how the whole versioning system works is pretty important. For example, if you switch over to, a new version or whatever, know that usually whatever version you're on is whatever version the AI is going to be working with, right? So if you're working with version 2 and you tell it to change something, it will change version 2. But if you switch to version 5 and you tell it to change something, it will change version 5. So just keep that in mind, that basically whatever version you're on is the one that it's going to be, researching or editing or whatever. Okay, cool. Any questions around that? That's kind of a long-winded way of going through the homework. It's also a little bit of what we're going to be covering today, so it's a bit of a preview. One more thing, actually, that I will show you here is when you run a back test, you also do have all these extras here. We have the graph, we have the annual return, max draw, and all that. But then also you can hit view details, and you can get into the weeds of it. This is actually a new thing that we added as well, where you have your graph here again. And then in here, you could actually take a look at, okay, this is the price of TQQQ. You can see it changing. And then here's our moving average. And you can actually even see the trades on here. So it helps you better understand when this thing got in and out and why, right? So you can look at actually indicators on a graph with like your underlying security, and you can actually understand, oh, okay, this is why it traded. This is why it happened. Like here, you could tell it's buying and selling when it crosses this moving average, right? So when it crosses above, it buys. When it crosses below, it sells, right? So what do you think about that? Put it into the comments. Let me know. I respond to all of your comments, so I'm very interested to hear what you thought about the video and what do you want to see next. And of course, if you're interested in any of this stuff, go check it out at botspot.trade.